All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another training video. Today we have a little something different, I guess a different session, not necessarily something different in terms of the training videos, just a little different workout. As of this point, you guys have seen 2 out of my 4 new training sessions of my new training program. You guys have seen upper A and lower A, and this is going to be the beginning of the B rotation here. So this is lower B, and then the plan is for me to film upper B tomorrow for the second episode of BTB TV. So eventually you guys will obviously see all of the sessions of my new program, but this is the lower B session, which is my glute and hamstring dominant leg day. Not really much has changed from this workout. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, this is still, in my opinion, the hardest workout that I do in the entire program. I've got 2 big bread and butter movements that I do in this workout, the Romanian deadlift and the leg press, and both of those are obviously extremely fatiguing movements. So this day is very, very difficult. As usual, starting off the day with some biceps. The bicep work at the beginning kind of serves 2 purposes. One, by putting the bicep work at the beginning, it allows me to put maximum effort into my bicep training, and I find that if I do the biceps at the end of an upper body day or at the end of a push or a pull day, the amount of effort that I'm able to give into them is pretty poor. And I personally don't feel that my physique is at the developmental level where I really need to dedicate an entire day to training arms. So the way that I kind of compromise that is I prioritize the biceps by hitting them first on the leg day. So that way I kind of get the benefits of being able to put maximum effort into them, while at the same time I don't feel like I have to waste a day. And I want to say the word waste very loosely, because I don't think that an arm day is a waste of a day, but I do think that it would be a waste of a day for me personally. Going into the gym and only doing bicep curls and tricep extensions and stuff like that is I think that my time could be spent better elsewhere in the gym. So again, don't want to go off on a side tangent here about arm days, but I personally don't feel like I need one for myself. So this is kind of how I compromise by prioritizing my biceps by training them first within the leg day. Obviously, this doesn't take anything away from the leg training. Your biceps don't contribute anything to your leg days or any of your leg movements, and the systemic fatigue that gets created from bicep training is extremely, extremely low. So I think that the argument that doing biceps first is going to make you more tired before you get into your leg movements is kind of a terrible argument, because if you're getting really, really tired and really exhausted from 2 to 3 to 4 sets of bicep curls, I think that's an issue, and I'll leave it at that. So I just don't really feel that that's a real valid excuse to be able to not place the arm training at the beginning. And as I've talked about in other videos before, there's something about going into the gym and just taking some very easy progressions right off the rip that just gives me a shitload of confidence, especially on a day like this. When I walk into the gym to do my lower B session, I'm kind of freaking the fuck out on most days. Like, in a good way. I'm obviously very excited because I know that I'm about to hit my numbers and, progress my logbook, but at the same time I'm nervous to do that because this training session is so intense. So by doing something easy, and imagine the word easy in air quotes, at the beginning of my workout. Currently, I'm doing 4 sets of bicep training, 2 across each of these exercises, 2 on the cable curl and then 2 on the incline cable curl here. And starting off the day going 4 for 4, progressing 4 sets of biceps, makes me feel like $1,000,000 and makes me feel like I'm ready to conquer that workout. So it's a good way to kind of get some momentum rolling. I'm not starting the leg day immediately going into some really difficult movement. I can kind of ease my way into the session, both physically and mentally, by hitting a different body part that doesn't necessarily take away from what I'm going to train that day, the primary focus. As I said, obviously biceps doesn't take away from the leg training, but at the same time it allows me to prioritize a different muscle group that I'm trying to improve as well. With the bicep training out of the way, I get into my calf training, and I like to do the calf training at the beginning for a lot of the main reasons why I like to do the bicep training at the beginning. I find if I do my calf raises at the end, the amount of effort that I'm able to put into them is comparatively pretty poor to what I'm able to put in at the beginning, and it allows me to prioritize the calves more and put more effort and more intensity into training them. And then I also deal with a lot of ankle mobility issues, and I personally find that by starting off my day with some calf raises, that kind of gets my feet and ankles warmed up, which I find helps contribute to my major squatting movements. Now, typically the calves are a muscle group that can handle a shitload of volume, and that's kind of something that I've been experimenting with as of late. If you guys kind of caught that at the beginning, I'm only doing one working set on the calf raise today. Typically, what I would do is either 2 or 3 sets on this standing calf raise that you see here, and then spoiler alert, after this we're going to go into a seated calf raise, and I would typically do anywhere from 1 to 2 sets there as well. I've kind of been driving up my calf volume over the course of the past couple of sessions, and in the leg day prior to this one, about 72 hours before I did this leg day, I did a leg day that had 5 sets of calf raises in there, and by the time I got into this workout here, my calves had just not recovered from that. And the way that I could tell that is because my numbers on this set were down significantly. This isn't relevant unless you've used this machine, but this is 160 pounds that I'm using. This week I only hit this for 8 reps, and last rotation I was able to hit it for 12. So for me to get such a rapid strength decrease on the first set there is a very big indicator to me that my calves have not recovered from the previous leg training session, which is why I only did 1 set today. Going in on this day and obviously getting that feedback right off the rip, like, okay, my calves have definitely not recovered from the last time that I trained them. There is no need for me to continue to bury myself by doing even more sets. Obviously, the 1 set was not progressive from the last rotation, so in my opinion, there's just no point doing another one from that point forward. And then from here, you'll see that I say that I did 1 working set, kinda, on this. So typically in an ideal world, I would like to train the calves both from a seated and a standing position. However, the seated calf raise at this gym, and I don't know if it's just this particular seated calf raise or any seated calf raise, but man, I've had some really fucking bad luck with seated calf raises the last couple times that I've used them. They just don't feel comfortable. I get a lot of wear and tear in my right ankle and my right foot specifically. And on this particular day, I don't know if you guys can tell by looking at kind of like my body language and stuff as I'm doing this set. I'm really not fully 100% into this set. You guys obviously can't feel this, but as I'm doing this set, I'm feeling this weird little pain in my right foot, and then I'm also getting this weird pain in my right hip. So the whole time that I'm doing this set, on one hand, I'm trying to stay locked in and I'm trying to hit my reps and I'm trying to execute, but at the same time, I have a nagging voice that's in the back of my head that's telling me, bail on this. This is not a good movement for us to do. And I've actually had that voice in the back of my head probably the last 3 lower body rotations. Every time I get on this seated calf raise, I'm kind of just like talking to myself and basically telling myself that I don't really like it and I don't like the way that it feels. So you can maybe possibly tell by the way that set ended. I wouldn't say that was true failure by any means, but at that point in the set, I was just kind of done with it. And I had already made up my mind that I probably won't be doing the seated calf raise going forward. So going forward from, this day onward with this particular leg session, and honestly my other one as well, instead of doing 2 to 3 sets on the standing calf raise and then 1 to 2 sets on the seated calf raise, I'm going to do all of the sets on the standing calf raise just to kind of get it done and over with that way. By the way, I never really got a chance to mention this, but that Icarian standing calf raise that you guys saw me doing is the fucking greatest standing calf raise ever. I've used a lot of standing calf raises. I'm sure there's tons of people that have used way more than me, but that one is just absolutely beautiful. I know that one is Hunter Labrada's favorite one in particular. This gym has had it for as long as I've been going here, for over 5 years. So from what I understand, that I carry on standing calf raise is kind of a gem. It's kind of a hard calf raise to find, and so I'm very fortunate to be able to have that one in my gym. It's not straight up and down. It's kind of at like a 45-degree angle, or maybe like a 60-degree angle or something like that. I don't know if you guys could tell from that video, but it does not load the spine directly, like straight up and down, and compress your spine like a typical standing calf raise. And because it's angled like that, you can really like lean into it. It's very hard to describe unless you've used it. But anyways, I'm kind of going on a orgasm rant about this standing calf raise because it's that good. But we're going to miss the adductor here. A lot of the same things that I mentioned on the calf raise apply to the adductor here. I have really been driving up my adductor volume over the course of my last couple lower body rotations, because my adductors are a muscle group that I want to improve desperately. I mean, I would do some nasty fucking things to people to get a big sweeping pair of adductors. So I've really been driving up my adductor volume heavily. And in the session before this one, I did 3 failure sets on an adductor and 2 failure sets on a pendulum squat. And when I came in today, the goal was to do 2 or 3 sets, but set 1 was down so big numbers wise that I just decided to leave it at 1 working set. For reference, again, this won't mean anything. This is 160 pounds that I was doing on the adductor there. Last rotation, I hit that 160 pounds for 18 reps, and today I think I only hit it for 14. So again, the adductors had just not recovered in time enough from the previous rotation, so I didn't see the need to unnecessarily do more volume and just continue to bury them. So just one and done there on the adductor. From the adductor, I move on to the abductor, and this is something that is very new to me. I've pretty much completely ignored the abductor the entire time that I've been in the gym. And I want to make it clear that I don't think that this is a glute mass builder by any means. I've kind of talked about this in my other training videos. If you haven't watched those, then obviously go check that out. But my big priority personally is to improve my lower body. And when I say my lower body, I mean my entire lower body, quads, adductors, hamstrings, like all of it. If there is one part of my lower body that I feel is somewhat adequate, it is my glutes. And so because of that, I don't really do any direct glute training with the exception of the abductor here. I personally feel like for where I'm at with my level of physique development, that my squatting movements and my hip hinge movements and everything are going to be adequate for glute growth. But I do have these in more so for hip external rotation and my ability to improve external rotation at the hips, because that was something that I really struggled with in posing, and that's something that I really struggle with from a mobility standpoint in general. So the goal by doing the abductor in each of my lower body workouts is to improve the strength of my hip external rotators, which I'm hoping will then contribute to not only better training performance, but also better posing. After we get that stuff done, we're going to start to get into some of the fun stuff. So this is the unilateral leg curl hammer strength model, and what you guys are going to see me do is 3 working sets here. This is what I am using as my hamstring curl of choice right now. This gym does have a couple of lying hamstring curls, but I'm going to be very honest with you guys, I don't really care for them that much. And I will say that this kneeling leg curl is fucking awesome. The way that you can align yourself in it is just absolutely beautiful, and the contraction that I get in the hamstrings on this is nutty. It's absolutely crazy. So 3 working sets here, which is a little bit higher than what I was doing in previous training blocks, but again, the lower body is the goal to improve, and so I'm focusing on driving my volume up through the lower body. I want you guys to watch this here, so I'm going to leave this in. I want you guys to see in real time how long it takes me to go from side to side on a unilateral movement. So what you guys are going to see is I'm going to hit failure on my right leg here. I'm going to come over to my logbook and I'm going to write down how many reps that I got, and I am immediately going to go into the left leg. And as you'll see in a little bit here as I edit this video and it kind of fast forwards, that is what I do for 3 working sets all the way through. So it's not like I do one working set and then I take a rest and then I do another working set. I literally hit failure on one leg, move to the next leg, and then right back to the next leg, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. No wasted time. Some people would maybe consider this a cluster set or like a giant myo rep or something like that. I really don't think it's that personally. I just think it's a time efficient way in order for me to get 3 working sets in. Again, kind of going back to what I said about the biceps, I don't think that a single leg curl is systemically fatiguing enough to warrant me taking an extended period of rest in between each set. And then also common sense tells me that as I'm doing the left leg, the lactic acid and all of those things are clearing out of the right leg. And so by the time I hit failure on the left leg, the right leg is recovered, ready to go again. So I don't see the point in wasting time. After the hamstring, that's a good point to mention. As you can imagine, by the time I do 3 failure sets on that hamstring curl, my hamstrings are pumped as fuck. And so this is a good time for me to stretch them out and load them. The Romanian deadlift is the exercise of choice that I like to do that with. Nothing has really changed here. Again, if you guys have been following me for a while, this has kind of been my bread and butter hip hinge for that entire time. So nothing fancy here. I would love to hit a 3-plate RDL sometime this off season. Obviously, I could easily hit a 3-plate RDL if I came into the gym and I did it first, but that's obviously not my goal. My goal is to not hit a 3-plate RDL just for the sake of hitting a 3-plate RDL. I want to be able to hit a 3-plate RDL within the context of my training program after having pre-exhausted my hamstrings. So, you know, that's kind of a side topic that I don't want to go off on a rant on, because as I've kind of been using this style of training lately where I'm kind of pre-exhausting my hamstrings before I do RDLs, or pre-exhausting my quads before I do my pendulum squats, I'm getting a lot of shit talk on the internet because my strength has gone down. But I think that people are just not realizing that I'm intentionally lowering my strength by pre-exhausting the movement before I train. So it kind of going back to what I said about the 3-plate RDL, I would personally be more satisfied by having or doing a 3-plate RDL at the end of a workout after having already pumped the fuck out of my hamstrings than being able to do a 4-plate RDL at the beginning of the workout when I just walk off the street fresh. And obviously everybody's going to have different ideas of what they think is impressive, but I just am personally more impressed by someone who's able to use heavy weight with control at the end of a workout when they're super tired and super fatigued than somebody who comes in and uses a slightly heavier weight at the beginning of the workout when they're more fresh. Not that one is necessarily more or less impressive than the other, but I just think it's important to understand strength within the confines of a training program. It's not just getting as strong as you possibly can for the sake of getting as strong as you possibly can. Getting stronger on the movement doesn't mean anything if you're not using the target musculature to move that weight. And by doing my Romanian deadlifts at the end, after I've done my hamstring curls, I'm basically ensuring and ensuing that I'm using my hamstrings to move the weight so that I can't let my ego get away from me. From there, that's really all that I really feel that I need in order to fully stimulate my glutes and hamstrings. You have to keep in mind that 72 hours from now, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do another leg workout again, where I'm going to do more hamstring curls and I'm going to do more hyperextensions. So this high-frequency leg training thing is very important to understand, because you may be watching this video and think, wow, he's only doing 4 sets of hamstrings. He's only doing 3 sets of quads in this particular workout. But again, it's very important to understand that 3 days from now, 72 hours from the time that I do this workout, I'm going to stimulate those muscles again. And then 3 days later, I'm going to stimulate those muscles again. And then 3 days later, I'm going to stimulate those muscles again. And again, I basically keep talking in a circle, going back to understanding the confines of a training program, but just a very good example of understanding how one workout plays into the next, and then how that workout plays into the next, and and then so on and so forth, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. I think one thing a lot of people get caught up in is focusing too much on how much work they can do in this particular workout without realizing that this workout affects the following workout, and then that workout affects the following workout, and so on, so on, so on, and so on. I got off on such a rant there and such off topic that I forgot to talk about the quad aspect of this session. So again, this is the glute hamstring focused leg day, which means that I do the glute hamstring work first and then I do the quad work second. If you've seen the quad video, then you know that the quad day is the opposite. I do the quad work first and then I do the glute and hamstring work second. The quad work on this day just composes of 2 working sets of a leg extension and then 1 working set here of the Cybex leg press. I did put a little sticker or a circle at the beginning of the leg extension there just to show you guys that I have a yoga pad that's rolled up that I put in between my shins in the knee pad there just to allow to get more of a stretch and more range of motion within the quads. Obviously, we know that all muscles need to be taken through their full contractile range in order to grow, but we also know that a lot of muscles benefit greatly from a stretch-mediated hypertrophy, meaning that we kind of want to put the muscles under more of a stretch or as much of a stretch as we can, and I think that that should apply to all exercises. The leg extension is typically not a move that most people would affiliate with the stretch, but we can make that exercise get a better stretch by adding something like a yoga mat there. And then the leg press here is pretty straightforward. I really like these pivot leg presses. I think that they allow us to get more depth than a traditional 45-degree leg press, and therefore allow us to get more quad stimulus, assuming that we can take a foot stance that allows us to bias the quads by getting a great degree of knee flexion. And I also like this leg press because it's safe to fail in. So pretty much all I wanted to talk about today, guys. As always, if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching and take care of yourselves.